Hey everyone, welcome back to this week's video. It's Mark here from Digital Groove. This week we're looking at something in the style of Simon Doty and My Friend. It's an energetic side of the deep house, almost falling in a tech sort of category. It has, the classic piano sound. It is really, really for the club scene. This track in particular we started working on this week with one of my clients, Michael. And he has this real classic old school vibe, genre that he's into, and we're trying to modernize it into something that's ready for the clubs nowadays. So bringing that classic sound into the modern sound, and artists that suit that are the likes of Simon Doty and My Friend. Now I'm going to give you a track breakdown of what we've done so far. We'll go through each channel just so that you can see how the track was built up. But I'm going to give it a play through once just to see, what that sounds like. If you're into it, stick to the end, see how it was put together. So there you go. That is in the style of Simon Doty and My Friend. We've just sort of referenced those types of tracks and tried to bring that energy, classic old school type vibe into this track. Now we've only really started this week. Michael had a lot of ideas already in it. We've just sort of built on it as we went along. So we're going to go through each individual. And we've worked with quite a bit of audio actually as well. If you look at the first thing that we're going to check out here, which is the bass. The bass was actually a sample online, and we've taken that and we've actually chopped that up and pitched it up and down. It wasn't actually in the key first and foremost, and then obviously the bass changes that move a little bit later on here were not in this, so we manipulated that audio, pitched little bits up and down, and we came up with this little rhythm here. I'm going to take off some of the LFO tools and that so that there's no side chain just yet. So this is the, I'll bring it up to this point here where it does all the changes. So this is the first element here, the bass. And if you look inside these little sections that are being cut here, if I double click in here, you'll see that there's no pitch movement here. There's a 3 semitone pitch up there, and the further we get across to here, it's a -4 semitones. So we've actually manipulated that audio to suit a nice pattern that we liked, and what bass changes we sort of wanted along there. So just with the side chain on, it gives it a little bit more pump. Really, really nice. So the next bass layer that we made was something that was going to cut through the mix a little bit more. This is bass number 2 here, and we've used Nexus, and it's been an organ bass inside there, so I'm going to play it on its own as well. And the actual, it's done this time in MIDI, and we layered those two on top of each other. So let's have a look at that as well. I'm going to actually join those two together so you can see the full pattern. So let's have a listen to that. Okay, and what we've done on that there is just cut a little bit of the lower frequencies out of that to allow for the first bass to have more of a sub end in it. Um, there's no other processing done in that apart from a little bit of sidechain with the LFO tool. So on its own, it's like this. And then with the bass, the first bass there with a little bit more sub energy in it, it sounds like this. And we'll drop the kick in there just to let you hear it on its own. So quite rocking there. I really like that. The next element down there is the pianos. They come in a little bit later on. As I say, I like to build up sort of a general idea with Michael to see where the track is actually going, just trying to get most of the elements in there to see what it would sound like at its most kicking point before we would then go back to the start and arrange that out into a little bit more of a story. So these are sort of most of the elements together. This was just 2 piano samples, so both from Nexus. The pattern itself, if I just go in here, simple chords, and we will just solo the first one here. We've brightened this one up a little bit with OTT. It's a free plugin if you wanted to grab it online. It's made by the same people that make Serum. It's excellent. You know, I only use it subtly, so I pull the upward and downward compression down to about 15-20%, and then use the depth in to brighten the sounds up. If you use it on its standard settings, it can really over compress it and make it sound weak. I quite like to use it like this here. So if I turn it off, you can hear it's very dull. Pulls it up really nicely. Bit of EQ and a bit of delay on that. The next one down we have is another piano layer. Let's have a listen to that. And when you play those two together, it's just that nice. The last layer at the bottom brightens it up a little bit more again and just cuts it through the mix. With it off, on. And you can probably tell it follows the bass pattern as well, so it just has that. It's not exactly the same groove. It just sort of sits off it a little bit, so they push and pull against each other, but they work really well. But the chord movements itself follow the bass line, and that works really well. There's a vocal one shot in there, just nothing really special happening on it. Just a little bit of a vocal shot underneath to give it a bit of a vibe. The kick drum itself was just a sample taken from a pack, but I've EQ'd it slightly, so if I take this off here, this is what it sounded like beforehand. I just thought it needed to be a little bit brighter coming through the mix, so quite dull. So if you have a good set of speakers or a good set of headphones, you will hear that it brightens it up a little bit there. If you're just listening on a phone, you probably won't hear that. Okay, so down to the percussion now. The percussion group is made up of about 4 elements, I think. 4 elements, yep. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, we'll start at the bottom one. It's the top one that actually gives it the groove. So the bottom one here is just a nice simple ride cymbal. It's panned a little bit to the left, and we've got a lot of the frequencies cut out there. The one above it, there's a little bit of a rhythmic percussion hit. Now the group itself has some reverb on it through the send and return. It just has a nice reverb over the whole lot just to gel it all together a little bit better. The next one is the clap. It has its own reverb on it here. And we'll play it with the other two here. And the last one here is just a top loop. So let's have a look at that. And we'll put it together. There's a little bit more shape in that. We've taken the low end out of it completely. A little bit of a duck around where the snare clap hits. It was just a little bit too loud. And tucked a little bit of the top end in as well, because we've got a lot of high frequencies on the rest of the percussion down there. So let's have a listen to it on its own. And we'll put it all together here. We'll just drop the kick drum with that as well. And maybe some of the percussion there too. Okay, so the percussion there, as you can see, gives that groove a little bit more. Your head bops along with it. It's just something you could dance to on the dance floor, and the pianos itself are nice and high and big. It's been a joy to really work on this, and I can't really wait to get stuck into it with them again and get it finished just to see how it turns out. The last couple of things here are sort of little vocal elements, little atmospheric, I suppose, and again a couple of samples there, just taken from, I think, Splice, and this one's a little bit of a gated rhythmic type sound. We've just EQ'd a lot of the low out and a little bit of the high, and we have RC20 on that as well. Just giving it a little bit of wobble, a little bit of noise, flutter, but I haven't hit it full. I've just taken it back a little bit in the mix, okay? Just with and without it, actually let you hear it. So you can hear it's really dry. Really, really nice. The next one is a vocal sample that just loops and loops again. I think this may have been taken from a Mark Knight style pack. And it already has sidechain on it, so I haven't actually stuck anything on it after that. Play it with the rhythm. And the last thing here is a vocal. I've just done something with the tail of the vocal, as you can notice there. It's just a very, very short phrase or hook. And as it gets to the end, I have sent it across to a delay here. Okay, which has real long feedback on it. And I automate that send return up just as the last word hits, and it just sort of delays it over and just sort of fizzles out over time. So I'll let you hear it in context with the other little vocal shot.
Stay out all night, hit the ground running, superstar, keep the good times coming, found all new friends, then did it again,
And whenever you... Sorry, I just have to go into... It just sort of goes on for a little bit, but it gives it a lovely, lovely texture in the background as it's playing. Now I'm going to play it with the pianos on its own without having anything else play with it. And you just see how euphoric that is. It's quite hands in the air. We'll just solo that, but we'll come back down here and play that one more time.
Stay out all night, hit the ground running, superstar, keep the good times coming, found all new friends, then did it again,
So yeah, the pianos really, really add to it there. And when everything is just together, I think it's a really, really good track. As I say, I can't wait to get stuck into it. Let me just turn off that vocal delay again. It does come down completely over time. But I say I'm going to play it through one more time. It isn't a very long video this week. We will get back to some more how-to videos from next week onwards. So just going to leave you off with this. If you liked it, let me know in the comments, and we will see you next week. Okay, that little delay there at the end just comes into the sort of breakdown there. Okay, that's it for this week. We'll see you next week with some more how-to videos. Until then.